Feast.
Let's go. Let's go, everybody. Let's go. Good morning.
Hold on to your butts.
All this negativity that's in this town sucks.
Thank you.
Thinking of those days gone by now. So music in the air. Life was good then it had meaning. We danced without a care. There I met you, our closest
9 to noon.
whose eyes I'd seen before. We had come together in a special place to feel the joy. Oh, cafe, give me the music that they used to play.
We have a developing situation with the Friday football feast. First, good morning. It's Paul Allen. It's producer Nordo. It's KFAN. The developing situation. Good morning, Nordo.
Good morning.
Were you familiar with the fact YA, Alec Lewis, athletic, is dear friends with Samford College basketball coach Bucky McMillan?
I wasn't until about 9-10 hours ago.
Yeah.
Whenever I was told that a lot was on the line with an early round game with the Jayhawks rocking and chalking.
Yeah, we had what would have been, I'm not going to say an elite bit because that would be in the ears of the beholders.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, we had something unique that was dead, and then it was deader, then it was alive, and then old people went to sleep, and then woke up and saw a bad foul call, and Rock Chalk advances. Something called Samford Doesn't, led by a coach named Bucky McMillan, who I think coached Alec Lewis in high school basketball.
Oh, come on.
And they're like Monday when we were chatting with him, he's talking about Samford.
Yeah.
Texting with the coach. And I'm like, how do you know the coach? So then A went to B, went to C, went to D. Eventually the whole thing went to L. But at this time, I mean, we were inches away. Maybe not inches. We were perilously close in the opening segment of the Friday football feast, turning it into the Friday front court feast for a segment, and having a college basketball head coach from Samford on to talk about an upset of the Kansas Jayhawks. Now that John Ekstrom with Minnesota Vikings Public Relations, one of our best friends, is a diehard, tried and true Kansas Jayhawks fan. So that was causing a little consternation within the Covenant last night.
Yes, it was.
Trying to put this whole thing together, and I got, I have a nervous public relations friend. We have a new friend in YA who happens to have befriended a coach of a team en route to an upset last night. But then the whole thing went pear-shaped, and Kansas won, and YA is going to be here in a minute, but we're going to have no coaching. Good morning.
Good morning. You said, as you noted, it was dead. Then it was deader.
Yes.
Then it was time to turn off the TV and enjoy an otherwise uneventful Thursday night.
Right.
But then it became alive.
Right.
I don't know how much of that second half you watched last night, but it was right up until that bad block.
You stayed up?
Of course I did.
Are you kidding me?
I didn't want to.
Old people went to sleep when it went to 22. I thought the bit was dead.
But then they came running.
Come
came
on.
running.
Come on.
It's March Madness. And on a day, by the way, in which there were 2 or 3 interesting games, and I'm sure we'll bring those up, of course, Kentucky and Oakland.
Yeah.
The same way that I just found out Samford has to be in Alabama, given the connection to Alec Lewis.
Yeah, it's something called Homewood, Alabama.
I also just found out recently that Oakland University, the Golden Grizzlies, that is not a Bay Area operation.
No,
that's courtesy of Rochester, Michigan.
Yep, that's Michigan.
So I'm learning all sorts of things last night, and I can't go to bed because Samford and the Bulldogs might pull this freaking thing off, and then the block.
Right.
And then, it's just,
right.
I can't, whether we're arguing about Kenny Mauer and the refereeing in the NBA, it is leaked down, it is tainted, it is poisoned college basketball.
Yeah.
And what an absolute L that ref put on a beautiful late game block.
Wow.
That would have sent them the other way, potentially with numbers to take the lead. So
and
it was an awesome game.
Right. And
we would have had Bucky on.
And the origin of a bit found life and then found a rapid death at the end after the bad call where like I'm sleeping, but I'm thinking of Alan Horton yelling, Advaloi!
I always love that one.
Now, the serendipity of this, though, is it stinks we're not going to have Bucky McMillan on today. And who knows the next time that Samford's going to be in the mix in the NCAA tournament. But the next time you text John Ekstrom and you ask for a Vikings guest, there won't be angst. There won't be personal trials and tribulation associated with the fact that we opened a show following his Jayhawks being upset. So on that side of things, home of the Vikings, it was a positive result.
Fairly stated.
Sorry, Alec.
Good morning, Alec Lewis.
I don't even know if I slept.
But we had it all set up so nicely.
It was all planned.
And so beautifully, and it's unique. And like I said, as you were negotiating the elevator, to be met by Sauce in the vestibule and escorted down to FM 100.3 KFAN. Good morning. As I explained, is your friendship with this coach, Bucky McMillan, for the Samford basketball team, and then you and I going back and forth, and then Ekstrom and I going back and forth, then you and Ekstrom going back and forth because you were concerned about Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center access if you got too loud on Twitter with your baby basketball team against the Blue Bloods, the Kansas Jayhawks. And if Samford beats Kansas, we start 9 to noon today with head coach Bucky McMillan, with whom Alec is friends. And as we mentioned, there was a very, very, very controversial foul call versus Samford very, very, very late in the game. And Bucky, here's what Alec's friend sounds like.
I have seen the play. I thought AJ made an incredible play on it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not faulting the call. Some people can see it different ways. But I was really proud of our guys' ability to go make a play. And at the end of the day, AJ's recovery there, if there is no whistle, I'm not blaming the whistle, but if there's no whistle, we're going to have a numbers advantage going the other way to advance to round 2.
Yep.
That's how close the game was. Wow. And that's how well our guys played because we were down by, what's the maximum we're down? So we're down by 22, and we're going to have the ball there, how much time left going the other way with a great opportunity. So, it is what it is.
I don't know who it was when it was 90-86 and they dropped that triple. Oh, it was so damn close.
The funny thing is, so like the backstory here, I
hope I told it right. Well, was he your basketball coach?
No, so he never coached me. Yeah, obviously.
So you did not tell the story correctly.
No.
I just don't know how one picks dandelions on a hardwood while playing basketball.
There was like a YMCA camp involved.
Butterfly in a gym and the team loses by 30.
I definitely tried out for the team, didn't make it. I can shoot. I can shoot the basketball. Let me tell you right here.
3-2.
But the backstory is, he turned this. So I grew up in the most like country club, Birmingham, Alabama suburb, the most college football, Alabama, Auburn, like environment ever. And nobody cared about basketball.
Yeah.
And in a matter of like 7 years, this guy, Bucky, who was from this area, turned this entire town into a basketball town. And they won 5 state championships. And I was like around for the very beginning of it. And he was like the first coach I ever covered. And so I've always thought he's an incredible coach. And I always thought if he got this opportunity, he could show the world like what he was capable of. and he obviously got the opportunity, and they came so close. But you're right, Nordo. Like when they, I mean, they were down 22-21.
Yeah.
And when they,
It was an awful game. And then, you got Dickinson, and you're watching.
No, wait, hold on. There's zero chance, and I'm not a 0-100 guy, and you know that. I think there's zero chance you stay up and watch the totality of that game unless there's a bit that potentially transpires to start 9 to noon today, and I'm regretful I didn't stay up and sweat that thing.
As soon as you told me about it, I was in. As soon as Dickinson, he has like these elementary school-sized children hanging off of him, and he can't be stopped.
Yeah.
By the way, shout out to your guy Bucky for identifying somebody who is truly in a David against all Goliaths type of world.
This is great.
Dallas Graziani, who starts
what the hell's
game.
Happening?
He only played 16 minutes last night. Perfect from the floor, by the way, and I think he got a free throw out of the deal. 5 points.
5'8", 140.
5'8", 140, standing on a milk crate.
Jeez.
This kid's running around. I thought a parent had just let loose their toddler, and he's tracking people down. It was unbelievable. But as soon as Dickinson started to take over, I'm like, well, this is just the obvious and inevitable result.
Yeah.
But then a couple of big baskets. The cat's name, the Melbourne, Australia cat.
Achora.
Achora.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
Yeah, he went to
Achora.
Yeah, he went to a chewing up that Kansas Jayhawks team.
Oh, wow.
They got some free throws. They got some big buckets. I mean, props to Bucky and the Samford Bulldogs, man. It was actually a badass game.
Right.
Yeah, it was so electric. Like you said, Nordo, when they were hitting threes in the second half in like the barrage, and they play this like press the whole game style, and at times, and even halftime, like Charles Barkley's like, come on, man, you can't be pressing these guys. You can't be pressing kids.
They wouldn't stop.
But that's literally his strategy. That I mean, this is the way they play. He believes in it. Yeah, it was, and I mean, I'm standing in my apartment. I'm crouched in a stance. You can imagine, like backwards hat. I'm pacing, nervous, and just fist bumping. And I didn't have my curtains down on my window, so like if there was someone across the apartment looking in, they probably would have thought I was. I mean, I don't know. I guess I am a lunatic, but I mean, it would have been an interesting look. But yeah, really. And then the block. I mean, it was
clean, man.
And I went to Mizzou, so Kansas is the rival. We hate Kansas. They get all the calls. They get. It just was,
let it out.
It was just awful.
They do get all the calls. You're right.
My last text to Alec Lewis at Alec_Lewis via Twitter. We're talking Samford basketball and the Kansas Jayhawks. It's the NCAA tournament because we had this like old schoolers would. I felt the old schoolers would have found this bit to be akin to the old school Gophers hockey bus bits where we try to call a coach. He's on a bus, passing the phone around to the players. It's just unique and quirky, and then they played the game. And the last text I sent Alec was, squad a tad ratty at the moment. Old people go to bed early. And you wrote ragged, rugged, one possession at a time. And it turned out you were right. And it turns out that I missed a heck of a game. Like from 22 into the second, like how did it get close?
Because they play this style where you're going to turn the other team over and just grind them down. They go 12 men deep on the bench. Bucky substitutes like no one I've ever seen, where he like if they're on defense and he can substitute, he's going to substitute his best defensive players in. He is as intentional about the way he operates and has always been that way.
He went 11 deep last night.
Yeah,
he was using
they put in a guy, Riley Allenspach, who is a freshman and looks like he would be better off selling working at Enterprise, and he was just burying threes.
That's most of these cats.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but I mean, honestly, it was. I mean, when the threes start falling, then it becomes kind of contagious, and they really believe.
No, you mentioned it though. 7 turnovers all game for Samford. 18 they forced on Kansas.
This is becoming a bad beat now.
No, it was terrible. The other thing I'll say, there was Nordo. Did you see the
Sam Ford?
Did you see the baseline out of bounds triple spin.
Of course he did. He was on the edge of his couch at like 11:30 watching.
Bucky drew up this play, and if you don't, you can look it up on Twitter. It blew up on Twitter. It is this like elevator screen. Chris Finch might use it tonight against the Cat. I mean, it was a phenomenal play. So I'm serious, like phenomenal play.
Oh, wow.
And that was one of those. There were people on Twitter that like who know basketball, and they're like, "Yeah, I stood up off the couch." I mean, that's where you knew this is a well coached team. So, I mean, I was obviously upset about the call, but I've never been a blame the refs guy. And I tweeted like, I'm just grateful that the world got to see it, and that's like me being ridiculous.
That the world got to see what? The emergence of Homewood, Alabama.
No, Bucky's team play. Like, but no, the heart of the team. I also, this is gonna sound, and you guys are gonna really laugh at me.
So you love this basketball team as much as like, okay, so journalists to the side. All right, we're real Rube radio right now. Journalistic integrity to the side. So this is like your favorite team other than Alabama football, or what's the hierarchy? I
don't even really care at all about Samford. Like, I've never cared about Samford. I just like the coach and I believe in him.
So a title for the Tide versus Elite Eight run. Like they go St. Peter's style a couple of years ago.
Sure.
Which is better?
Oh my gosh, the Samford to the Elite Eight.
Okay.
This is this is going to sound very ridiculous.
He's like us. He's a Rube.
I know.
That's awesome.
The people who know me will laugh, but like the two things I'll say. One, there's like nothing cooler than believing in somebody and seeing them succeed.
Hold on.
And that's
Go ahead.
and that's how I feel about Bucky McMillan. The other thing is last night, rooting for that team, I felt like it felt like being a kid rooting for a team, and it made me feel like, obviously, now I understand why all these Vikings people scream at me every time I write. He
found his innocence again.
And
now he's tearing down a fan base to feel better about himself. Where's this going to go?
No, I love the fan base. I'm just saying, it was an emotional night. It really was. It brought me back to high school. It was yes. And I'm glad all the people in Minnesota who care nothing about Samford basketball get to listen to it.
Well,
I care more now about your relationship with Bucky so that we can get Cortland Finnegan on. We can get, let me see here, Jerkwiski Tart?
Duck Hodges.
Yep, Duck Hodges. So
Bobby Bowden is a Samford guy. Wow.
I think it's God rest his soul, Bobby Bowden, or is he still alive?
Well, let's hold on.
I might have just gone
I can't believe you're playing this music.
Well, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Bucky, and your journalistic career.
I feel like we're at the
he did indeed.
So was
Bobby
this
Bowden.
so was this as you learned to execute your toil professionally? Was this your first friend?
It's the first coach I ever covered, and had it not been for his successful basketball teams, I wouldn't be doing the job that I love today.
So the first person to whom you could say, you can trust me, I won't tell anybody.
No.
To get the background information.
No, we're not that. Oh, you're talking about like sources?
Yes.
No. Tom Condon and I go way deeper than Bucky and I would go.
Okay. Well, that truncated as it was, that was fun. I mean, that was a fun bit yesterday. I don't want to get too loud into this microphone saying just how much I was rooting for Sam Ford against Ekstrom's Jayhawks.
Right.
But I mean, it's
John. So John texted me, and he said, so for people listening, John is one of the directors of the Vikings media relations and a liaison between us and the players and coaches. And John texted me, he's like, I just need that first three to fall. And I was like, come on, John. And then the first Kansas 3 fell, and I was really not happy. But yeah, it was it was a fun time.
Kansas was down its leading scorer. So, but like the point spread didn't move. So it's like when somebody's down, so it was Kentucky, Kansas -7.5. All right. Leading scorer guys out. So I went to like scoresandodds.com, ESPN, whatever, to look at the point spreads, and it stayed the same the whole week. So I'm like, damn, Bucky's out here getting no respect.
No,
leading scorer goes down. The only person pulling for Bucky's YA.
Well, they were just dunking on Samford the whole time. At some point, it was like, yep, Kansas is 10 for 11 from the field. You're like, that's not good,
right? Well, how'd you get back in it?
threes and defense. And they switched it up a little bit in terms of how Bucky, they were throwing some zone, some man. They were really trying to throw everything at Hunter Dickinson. That guy is that guy is really hard to stop. But the threes fell. I mean, they ended up shooting like 43% from three, and I think in the second half it had to have been like 50, 60%. So that's how. But yeah,
you ran into a blue blood.
Yeah, it's tough.
And unlike Oakland from old Rochester, Michigan, couldn't handle the old blue blood like the Detroit kids getting all pesky and randy and scrappy and tearing up somebody.
I mean, it was, I will say, the games yesterday, just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, you had Duquesne winning. I mean, it's the tournament is just so special. It's just so fun to watch.
Now, found via Twitter from somebody who joins the show occasionally named Mitch Moss from VSIN, which is on the free iHeartRadio app. It's the Vegas Stats and Information or Sports and Information Network. And I found this to be interesting. It's Jay Wright, according to Mitchell, dropped the microphone on the state of John Calipari at Kentucky moving forward, and Kentucky lost to Oakland in the biggest upset of the first day of the NCAA tournament. And the well-respected Jay Wright had this to say:
Number one, personally for Cal, he loves Pittsburgh. He takes pride in being a Pittsburgh guy. So being there in Pittsburgh, this really hurts him personally. I understand. I feel for him. Number two, the era of taking these young freshmen and trying to play against older players is over. I think he did a phenomenal job with these guys all year, getting them to be as successful as they were. You can see they're playing against grown men. The guys on Kentucky will be far better pros than any of these guys on Oakland or any of these guys in the tournament, but they're not as good college basketball players. It's at this point in their career, they're not as disciplined yet as the guys from Oakland. And it's not Cal's fault. It's they're 18 years old and they're in this era where everyone's telling them how great they are. Just show up in college and you're going to win. It doesn't happen that way. And the more the guys stay in college because of NIL, it's going to be tougher for young teams like this to be successful.
Massage your elite analytical mind. What do you think he meant there? And would you agree with it?
Phenomenal take, yeah. And Jay Wright would know. But that I felt that way for a long time. Like and it's so crazy because Kentucky basketball is such an entity and such a gigantic like corporation type thing that Cal's strategy of amassing one and done players and a team like that. I mean, it's impressive, and their alumni is incredible, and what he's been able to do is I mean, from a talent perspective that they brought in is great, but to really have a team to win in the NCAA tournament, it feels like you need a team, guys who come together, not the me type of 5-star recruit guys that you're just trying to throw together. And so and that was
those Villanova teams too, whether it was with Brunson, Chris Jenkins, I think hits that massive shot.
I mean,
DiVincenzo. We weren't talking about lottery picks. We were talking about guys with tenure there at Villanova. Yeah. So Jay Wright would know that.
Well, and even though these kids for the Wolfpack, North Carolina State, that they don't necessarily lack tenure or have long-standing equity together, the Oakland, the team from Michigan with those Detroit kids that beat Kentucky and ousted that blue blood going like St. Peter's on it like last year, they're going to hook in NC State Saturday. I say, and we brought this up. I can't remember with who, maybe yesterday, but was with Gabe Henderson early in the week when his beloved Tar Heels got beat in the championship of the ACC tournament, and I conceded that. Quite honestly, I hadn't watched North Carolina State basketball since Derek Whittenburg.
I always loved that
was hitting shots, but I found myself. Fascinated by this game, I was engrossed with the game, and the Vox and the analyst. I mean, the analysts. The way they were describing North Carolina State and the transfer portal, and the players. This one from Memphis, and how they all use the free agency tool that's right in front of them, and they've come together and they've caught fire. Because I had no idea they had won games 4 consecutive days to play in the championship against the blue blood, the North Carolina Tar Heels. So I'm like, be wary of these Wolfpack. that they won 5 games in 5 days to win the ACC tournament. Along the way, they beat Duke. They got a buzzer-beating 3-pointer to force overtime where they would win from a guard named O'Connell, who clearly gave his best when his best was required, then slipped by the Tar Heels to win the title. And stories like this and wins by teams like Oakland make the tournament so cool. But I say be wary these these Wolfpack, man.
Yeah.
I mean, with these high-enders from other places, people have forgotten left. And now they've caught fire, man. They've really hit stride.
Did you? Yeah, that team is phenomenal. Oakland, on the other, that's such a cool game. Oakland, their head coach has been there for 40 years. 40
right.
years.
When they said that, and I went to the Wikipedia machine, I was assuming at the school for 40 years. So, started out in physical education, then taught this class, and then did this with another form of PE, and then all of a sudden been the coach for 16 years.
I also think they said he plays golf 100. I could have misheard this. I think they said he plays golf 140 times a year. I'm thinking, that's a lot of golf. You better be good. It's a lot of golf. But if you're beating Kentucky, you can play golf however much you want.
All right.
Phenomenal. Yeah, no, NC State and Oakland should be a phenomenal game. And Oakland has this dude who was, they were just running that guy, John Golke.
Golke.
However you
Is
say
it Golke?
And they're running that guy off screens, and it was Marshall Henderson. It was unbelievable.
It's a 14 beating a 2. And beating a 3, and first and foremost, you think Golden Grizzlies, and I don't know about you guys, but I think Golden Grizzlies, and I definitely think the suburban Detroit area.
I always love that.
So they're
one.
the Oakland Golden Grizzlies, which was a weird nickname.
That's why the first time I heard, I'm like, they have to Golden State War with all kinds of gold bear on the freaking state flag,
right?
And it's the Golden Grizzlies. I had no idea they were from Michigan until about a day ago.
Their basketball arena, it's like the Oakland O-Rena.
Oh, wow.
Apostrophe.
Yeah. So when you texted your friend Bucky, did he write back?
I haven't texted him yet. What if
he leaves you on red?
I doubt it. He
told me yesterday. You texted him. It took him 3 days to get you back, and you got a little nervous.
No.
Glasses started to fog up and everything.
Yeah. No. So I texted him after they won the SoCon tournament and made the NCAA
What's
tournament.
the SoCon?
The
Southern Conference? What's the SoCon?
Obviously, people in Minnesota don't know the SoCon.
What is the SoCon?
He texted me. This was before the tournament. He said, "Will be a fun week. Something we all watched growing up. The greatest show on earth. Now get to be a part of it."
Did he think you were interviewing him for a preview capsule on The Athletic?
Is that your buddy or a press release? What the hell is that?
Who wrote that? John Ekstrom?
You get that approved by PR?
No, it's I can't. You guys can't. I'm still emotional, so you guys are just throwing darts at me. But no, I'll
What's
text
our team's nickname?
The Bulldogs.
Oh yeah. That's right, the Bulldogs.
Yep.
It was a Bulldog boondoggle with that phantom call at the end of the game by Ed Malloy. Holy cow!
Was it Ed Malloy?
I have no idea. It might have been.
I
Steve
said earlier.
Jabbie.
I was thinking. I don't ever blame the refs, but man, there is a lot of. There was. They played at FedEx. The Vikings played at FedEx Field in 2022, and the ref took out Cam Bynum. You remember that? The ref just took out Cam Bynum. And then the I think the Chiefs game last year, the refs were doing some stuff. Sometimes you just
get out of the way.
Sometimes you just really wonder.
So if you text beloved Bucky, if only for the 9 to noon metaphorical Davenport of love, and I'd like to meet him, man. I just want to know why everybody from Alabama and Arkansas sounds like Bill Clinton. So we'd start there. But secondly, it's like I don't want you to bug him and jeopardize one of your few friendships.
Yeah.
So
you love this. Norda likes it too. Why do you guys like trolling me about my friends so much?
I don't know. I think having him on the radio show for 5 minutes would be cool, man. Just for you to say hi to him. But if you think it's weird, then we're out.
I don't.
Your reaction to it is what makes it so amusing to me. You're almost you're like bashful about it. It's super cool that your buddy's the head coach of the team that nearly took down the Jayhawks.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I don't. I don't.
You're
feel
worried about being left on red.
No, I'm not worried at all. I'm worried that this guy he just had the biggest. I was thinking about this. You reached the biggest moment in your life, and you know it's the biggest moment in your life, and you know that you might not ever reach this moment again, just by the odds of it. That's a crazy thing. And
then some 3-chinned radio show in the Twin Cities who never has even heard of you or your school until 48 hours ago wants you to come on for 5 minutes for what? Something called the metaphorical Davenport of love.
I always love that one.
That's why Bucky leaves people on red.
No,
they have Davenports in Alabama, don't they?
There's a pizza restaurant in the town that we grew up in called Davenport's. I believe it was owned at one point by Jim Davenport, the former baseball player. Mm-hmm. But probably
send Bucky a text. Tell him 9 to noon says, sorry for the outcome.
Well, I will.
Excellent work.
Yeah.
What a treat it was watching watching a half of your game last night. And
I appreciate Nordo's
Nordo was all in.
Yeah, no. And I mean, for him to bring up Dallas Graziani, I mean, it was
I needed more of him. And he's only a sophomore, by the way. We get 2 more seasons of Graziani.
Yeah. Graziani, I think he played D2, went 67-1. I mean, he's a fireball. He's brings some sparkability to him.
Thanks for helping, and thanks for the whirlwind of this little tornado of a bit that flew through our life. What was my life, and then I brought Nordo into it. He stayed up longer than me. This tornado engulfed our lives. We were actually emotionally compelled to pull for Sam Ford, but don't tell John Ekstrom. And it didn't go the right way, but you're here. So if you are so inclined, please mix it up with us for a smidge to catch some Friday Football Feast vibes. What do you say?
Yeah, we'll do. And I'm happy for John Ekstrom. John's a good guy. Yeah. Kansas has had such a hard time over the years that to see them get one, is just I feel really fondly for John.
Brilliant. That's the voice of Alec Lewis, who covers the Minnesota Vikings for The Athletic and TheAthletic.com. Aleka_Lewisa is where you find him via the X Machine. Mad producer is Nordo, and I'm Paul Allen. It's the Friday Football Feast at FM 100.3 KFAN. TimberTech.com. What's on deck 9 to noon includes YA with us now, some football conversation coming up. Dane Moore, who covers the Minnesota Timberwolves and has joined 9 to noon several times. Dane Moore, one of our very favorites, very smart with basketball specifically. The Dane Moore podcast is quite good. He'll join us at about 10 o'clock. Vikes Bites at 10:47. Then at 11:03, there is a senior producer from NFL Films named Tim Rumpf, who will be joining 9 to noon to talk about this Netflix series coming out this summer called Receivers or Receiver. And Tim had the pleasure last year of following Kirk Cousins during the 2022 season, and Tim was the producer following Justin Jefferson for the Receiver series, which once again drops, as the kids would say, but premieres, as everybody else would say, this summer on Netflix, featuring he's JJ, Devontae Adams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle. Somehow a tight end got into a Receiver series, and we will ask him about that. So that's 11:03, and we're looking forward to that. Just to land the plane here for a second on the Bucky bit, with Homewood, Alabama. Where's Homewood, Alabama?
It's a suburb of Birmingham.
Okay, so it's like I don't know, Edina or whatever, Minneapolis.
Yeah, Chaska,
Right.
Golden Valley, Apple Valley, Chanhassen.
Mm-hmm.
These are just the only places I know, so that's why I'm naming them.
Right. Well, when looking it up, I just found myself wondering if you had ever been to the Vulcan Park and Museum.
Of course.
Oh, you have?
Oh, of course.
Oh, it's big time?
Oh, in Birmingham, I mean.
Well, this is Homewood. This is where Sam Ford is located.
Vulcan's close. Vulcan is like this statue of this.
Oh, wow.
This iron statue of this man holding up a, I don't know, candle or whatever they hold up. I don't know, but yeah. If you go to Birmingham, it's like one of the Birmingham's things, which is not a cool thing, but that's just how Birmingham is.
Did you at any point of your life? Last one here, I promise.
Okay.
At any point of your life, Alec Lewis, have you taken a romantic walk through Red Mountain Park?
Absolutely not.
What do you mean, absolutely not?
A Red Mountain Park?
You've never heard of it?
I mean,
it's like the third attraction. If people, like tourism in Birmingham, I found can be an oxymoron. But nevertheless, when I went digging a little deeper, I came up with the Vulcan bit and the science thing and the Birmingham Zoo. Animals were looking about as raggedy and ratty as Samford in the first half of that game last night, but maybe I just caught a bad picture.
No, Red Mountain Park, or that's what it is, Red Mountain Park?
Yes.
I mean, I know Red Mountain, but no, I don't know. There was no romanticism going on at Red Mountain Park. There might have been some romanticism in Mountain Brook, my suburb, but the Red Mountain Park wasn't a setting for love, frankly.
I've seen this on Twitter from a couple of different entities. Michigan has a pro day today.
I've heard.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, with 9 to noon is not in tune with the pro day schedule. We just wait for others to opine, and then we opine on the opining. But I guess Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell are not attending the Michigan pro day, and like there are those who are aghast. I mean, people are really, really into this. You may be bored with the whole situation. I'm just kidding. But people are really, really into the draft, which is like 5 weeks from yesterday or something like that. But I mean, I'm not tripping out or tears are not dropping eyes that Kwesi and or KOC are not at the Michigan Pro Day. Just kind of wondering why they're not at the Michigan Pro Day.
Well, they already have a private workout.
Okay.
That's why they already have a private workout scheduled with JJ in particular.
Okay.
So you got McCown and is it Grant Udinsky?
Grant Udinsky, yep.
So they're there?
Yeah, they're there.
Oh, good. Thank you. And JJ McCarthy's the centerpiece, but I would imagine there are a few other Michigan.
And the Vikings have staffers there. Beyond just quarterbacks, the Vikings have staffers there. There are some defensive staffers there. They had a staffer or two at Notre Dame yesterday. I mean, they've been out and about. What I would tell you is this, and I've said it's not a bit if we have coaches there and private workout with McCarthy, and I would imagine they'll cast the gaze the way of the other Michiganders they may want to draft, like through the pro day or whatever. No question, and you just you're up close, you get to see him. But I'll tell you this, and I've said I've gone down this road multiple times on the radio, and I've written about it. Kevin O'Connell, when he finished playing, did a little bit of media stuff in San Diego, and then he started to help out in the private quarterback development sector with a guy named George Whitfield, who at the time was like one of the best, biggest private quarterback trainers there is. And Kevin, because he knew schematics so well, would teach some of these guys in terms of their pre-draft preparation, in terms of what they would do on the board and how to approach these guys on the board. So Kevin understands this process better than probably most head coaches in the National Football League. And he also understands how guys are trained to be able to circumvent what teams want to find. So what he's going to do in this process is structure things in a way where he is identifying things that he knows he needs to identify. And private workouts are probably the most optimal way of doing that, because it's not the quarterback structuring the workout. It is you structuring the workout to get what you need out of the quarterback. And so that's the way I would expect them to approach this thing. That's the advantage you have when you have a quarterback, a head coach with this type of experience. So wouldn't go crazy about them not being at the pro day. Would think it's definitely interesting that they're going to have private workouts with JJ McCarthy. It's just additional data points beyond the data points that they already have.
But what about the proper execution of the long con? What about the ruse? We'll get into that next. All right, Shaq Griffin and Jonah Williams. What's the read?
Shaq Griffin is an outside cornerback that should add some reliability and experience on the edge, can play some man coverage. Jonah Williams, run defender on the inside. They have a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Doesn't for me fortify the defensive line the way that I think everybody would want. And I've had people ask me, like, why didn't they go after shoring up the defensive line? It's like, buddy, they did. They really wanted to go get Christian Wilkins, but the price was exorbitant, and then you kind of pivot to a guy who fits your timeline in Jonathan Grenard, and they've really, that edge position, I feel like they're in really good shape now with Grenard and Van Ginkel, as long as those guys stay healthy. So that's what I'd say about the front.
Would you say edge really good shape or improving shape?
Probably improving. You'd love a recently drafted guy who you're paying on a rookie contract who's phenomenal. But, I mean, you go look up what Andrew Van Ginkel has done dropping in coverage from that spot. It's really phenomenal.
Right.
And then Grenard, as long as he stays healthy, he's an ascending player who's really talented as a pass rusher. So that's what I'd say.
If any idea what's next around here with kicker? I mean, it's kicker, so people ain't going to be tripping on kicker up to the draft thinking about quarterback. But you got TikTok guy, Greg Joseph under the cover of darkness in the draft. But like kicker, do you ever think about it?
Yeah, sometimes. There was a point at which over the last few weeks, in the lead up to free agency, that I thought, and from what I was hearing, I thought, they might swing for a guy like an experienced guy. I mean, I'm talking like a Nick Foles, like somebody of that type of regard. Ultimately, they ended up signing this John Parker Romo guy who kicked in the XFL, was pretty successful. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if they used one of their late round picks on a guy like a 5th rounder, 6th rounder, whatever. But
we're just done with Greg Joseph, though. I mean, you think that's the case?
It's possible.
Because if we don't draft a guy, you're going to go out and maybe spend the same amount of money, and maybe in the end that's better, right? I don't know who the free agent options are. I got no idea. These guys come out of nowhere, but including TikTok guy. But I know Greg Joseph. I've been annoyed with the extra points at times. I've been annoyed with some misses in certain spots, but it's like, I know him. I've felt mostly good about Greg during his time here, so maybe I'm wrong with that.
Have you? I would say
he's a kicking conundrum.
I would say I say this objectively every time he runs out to take a kick.
Mm-hmm.
I could grab a coin from my pocket and just flip it, and I don't know if it's going to go in.
Right.
That's how it feels.
All right.
That's how it feels to me. Now,
remember that nugget? I think there might have been you dropped a nugget last year, and I tried to joke with O'Connell about it before taping in X's and O's, and it wasn't foolhardy, but it wasn't the best timed. But that's okay. We live to learn. And it was every time Greg Joseph misses an extra point, the Vikings win. Something like that was.
No, I never said that.
Oh, there was an inverse relationship.
Yes.
Every time he had an awful game, the Vikings did end up winning at some point.
Yeah, it was like a big number, too.
Now, I will say,
Like
I go back to I think, was it the Colts game? He hit the 60-yarder to win or whatever. I mean,
Giants, Christmas Eve.
Merry Christmas.
Giants. That's yeah.
The whiteout.
So there were times where Greg was really reliable, and then there were times where he'd miss kicks, and Matt Daniels would come to the press conference that week, and he's like, yeah, Greg's miss is usually right, and he missed it right again.
Yep.
You're just like...
And the punter's Mr. Right, not the kicker.
Right, Mr. Right. Yeah, but...
Dan Bailey at we've been chasing a kicker since after the Seattle game, haven't we? I mean, all-time rookie-type season for Blair Walsh. He walks off with a couple of wins, Bears game and Saints game in 2015. Ever since 27 wide left, we've been chasing that position, and it's been awful.
Mm-hmm. It's one of the most interesting introductions to this market is like, I remember I was here for like in the lead up to 2022 game 1 against the Packers, and people were like blowing me up in the comments like, well, what are we doing at kicker? I'm like, do people like what are we do? What and obviously
And then
history.
you'll learn the
matters.
history.
Yeah.
Chad Graff, also of The Athletic, he's the one who left and YA jumped into his spot. Graff was on the show Tuesday, and he called you YA, as in young Alec, and he gives it a 30% chance the Patriots permit the Vikings to get up to 3. It was a 3 of 10. I mean, which was a little higher than I thought. It might have been a little lower than that, but you get the gist of the bit. What do you how do you handle that piece of deduction by your cohort?
Yeah, I mean that probability seems somewhat fair.
30? That seems kind of high.
I mean, it is kind of high. I talked to Tom Curran in New England. I was on his podcast earlier this week, and he was asking. We were talking about it. I just part of probably the size of that probability is if you go look at the Patriots' offensive roster. I mean, there are more holes than a beach at night where crabs are digging. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there are just so many holes on the offensive side of New England's roster that to just throw in a Drake May who needs probably a year to develop or sit, that's a bold move. On the other hand, you can't guarantee you're ever going to be picking third again. So I totally understand if they just shoot their shot right now. To me, someone asked me something the other day, and it's just if the Vikings believe that this is their guy, and Kevin O'Connell's like, this is the quarterback we need for the future. I mean, to me, you do everything you can. Brandon Beane at the Combine said, like, either we were going to go for it all on Josh Allen and miss, and I wasn't going to be here, or we were going to go for it all and hit, and nobody's going to care. And that's the situation I feel like the Vikings are in right now.
Is that why in the Athletic beat writer, or the mock draft, you're spending money that's not yours, Alec, as you traded up to 3, and they traded 11, 23. Next year's first and a 2026 second-round pick. Anything else that we're going to give the Patriots for Drake May in your mock draft?
Someone commented, and they said, I'm glad Alex Lewis isn't running my team. I was like, yeah, dang right.
But see, I'm glad you went down that road with the Patriots because they for sure could draft a quarterback. All right, and they have Jacoby Brissett, an expat who's back with them. But that offense is so talent poor that it's. I mean, you could beat a career out of an individual, Drake May, whomever, starting them week 1 for the New England Patriots. I'm not saying it's David Carr part 2 or version 2, but you understand what I'm saying there. They can take one. I can't see that quarterback playing immediately.
No, they would. The quarterback, especially if it was a Drake May. I mean, there is a belief that Drake May, in terms of mechanics, footwork, there's some stuff he has to clean up. And I would say even here, if they draft a guy, no matter who it is, Kevin O'Connell has such strong beliefs in how a quarterback develops. And you think about the young quarterbacks that have succeeded recently. Jordan Love sat for as long as he did. I mean, some guys who were thrust in immediately have not succeeded. Bryce Young last year. Obviously, C.J. Stroud did succeed immediately. But a guy like Drake May needs some polish to where he'd probably sit no matter where he is. And I would say that
the 1 in 10 for Darnold seems to be the tell. Whomever they draft, that guy's probably playing first, not the rookie Darnold. And you know, and like with Mullins, I mean, I'm not saying I was over the moon excited about this, but a full off season with Nick to like get up to speed on the nuance of everything. Maybe they're just bored with that. That's why they went out and got Darnold. But I think no matter who they draft, I think you hit it. I think the 1 in 10 is an indicator Darnold probably gets the money early. Unless new guy just comes in here and goes lights out on the whole situation, and then everybody sits.
Well, I mean, there are some options. Like, again, a Jaden Daniels, if he looks like he did this past year at LSU, like he's really polished. And he could make, I mean, I don't know in terms of his absorbing of the playbook, like that would probably take a long runway. But with the Drake Mason, I mean, even J.J. McCarthy with his footwork and base stuff, if you watch on tape, like it's pretty polished. So, we'll see, but yeah, I agree with you in that the 1 for 10 for Sam Darnold was you're taking a flyer on a guy with potential upside who can start for you in the short term. And then if they end up keeping a Nick Mullins, then you have insurance if you need more runway to develop the potentially drafted quarterback.
Thank you very much for helping today.
Loved it.
Best laid plans, right? I mean, the serendipity of it was we get you to chat, period, for an hour, which was awesome. But sorry about your friend's team, and better luck next year, okay?
It's okay. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Next week should be fun. Owners meetings in Orlando. So
we'll call you twice.
No, my phone is off. Sorry.
See you, bud.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Alec Lewis from The Athletic and TheAthletic.com. I'm Paul Allen. The Timberwolves play the Cleveland Cavaliers this evening at Target Center shortly after 7. Dane Moore at Dane Moore NBA and the Dane Moore podcast. Per usual, he will be on site, and we'll chat with Dane about that and more around the corner on KFAN.